Bus tour. Herschel sends great regards, and I told Herschel, I said, Herschel, I'm going to see General Don Bolduc. He goes, you know, I like that guy. And I said, you know what? There's not a lot of people that don't like that guy. And the interesting thing is, I came back, this is my third or fourth time coming for Don, and then I came not too long ago, and nobody was really paying attention to him. And they did to him what they did to a lot of candidates. They're like, we have second-tier candidates. And I went and I met Don Bolduc. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is an American hero. This is a guy who fought for us 10 times in Afghanistan, went on horseback. That's not second tier, that's better than anybody we got in Congress right now. Around the country, have you seen Don Bolduc? Have you seen Don Bolduc? You gotta check this guy out. And they're like, yeah, but I don't know that he's gonna win. Have you seen the polls lately? And my team laughs because they're like, you're always crushing on Don Bolduc. What is it? And you know what I think it is? I love an underdog. Because don't underestimate an underdog, because he'll bite you. And I'm telling you, he kept on going. He slow and steady, rally after rally, touching hand after hand, letting people hear him. It didn't matter that he was outraised, because that man outworked everybody. Heard I was coming here, they all said, what's going to happen in New Hampshire? And I'm going to be the one that tells you, I'm not about all of this red wave stuff. Don't believe it. And the reason I'm saying don't believe it is because the only way we win is based on turnout. The red wave will be if everybody goes to vote. This isn't a time to be arrogant. This is a time to be humble. This isn't a time to sit there and celebrate. This is a time to be disciplined. Because we've got a lot on the line. Now you look at your senator now. Senator Hassan. You gave her 6 years. You gave her 6 years to fight for you. And look at what you got. There's not a person in this room that can say that they're better off than they were 2 years ago. There's not one. Because when you look at the fact that when you go to the gas station, it costs more money and that's how you go to work. When you go to the grocery store, it costs more money and that's how you feed your family. The idea that we're having record inflation. And what did Maggie Hassan do? She worked right with Joe Biden, closed down our energy sector, caused our gas prices to go up, raiding our emergency reserves, and now claiming that it's Russia's problem, right? When at the end of the day, what I know is if we elect Don Bolduc, not only will we be energy independent again, we'll be energy dominant. We'll make sure this never happens again. Because right now, I'll tell you, what we're seeing around this country is Americans are hurting. And this isn't just about the people of New Hampshire. This is about Americans. Because Americans are looking at New Hampshire. And they're hoping that you do the right thing. Because if you do the right thing, you help them. This is an American issue, and you have a chance to be real patriots here. Because what I can tell you is Americans across this country, 30% of them have already dipped into their savings account. 60% are already in credit card debt. 1 in 6 can't pay their utility payment. And you've seen your power bill, right? And yes, I did bring some South Carolina weather. I hope y'all like that. But we know in a couple of months your power bill is going to go up 30%. What choices are you going to have to make? And whose fault is it? And when they should have stopped the spending, what they do, they spent like drunken sailors. And now they're telling somebody who didn't go to college that they've got to pay for somebody who did. And they're raising your taxes so that people can drive electric cars. They've thrown out money. You want to know what Maggie Hassan voted on? $12 million for a baseball stadium in New York. That was your money. $15 million for New Jersey to get the World Cup. $6.5 million to golf courses in Colorado. That's our taxpayer dollars. $1 billion went in stimulus payments to federal prison inmates. $20 billion with the B of our tax dollars went to illegal immigrants. That's not okay. Maggie Hassan did that for you. She's voted with Joe Biden 100% of the time. And you look at the crime situation. Across this country, they decided to glorify criminals instead of having the backs of our law enforcement. Well, guess what happens when you do that? Everybody thinks they can get away with anything. So now we have crime everywhere, and you shouldn't have to worry about whether your child can ride their bike down the street. Shouldn't have to worry if you're going to get carjacked at a restaurant. But in America, rules don't apply anymore. And if you don't believe that, look at the border. The idea that we've had enough illegal immigrants cross the border in the past 2 years that would create the 3rd largest city in America. Think about that. 4.8 million people have crossed the border, broken the law, and we've helped them do it. We've given them plane tickets. We've given them bus rides. Even though Maggie Hassan and Joe Biden have made every state in the country a border state. It affects our schools now. It affects our hospitals now. It affects our law enforcement now. That's not watching out for us. That's watching out for people who don't even live in this country. That has to stop. And then you look at what's happened in our schools. You know, they're saying, oh, but don't worry about the kids. That was just COVID. No, we had a problem with COVID. We had a problem way before COVID. You know, you look at what our kids were doing, the fact they couldn't read and do math before. They have nothing to say now because we just got the results last week. 69% of 8th graders in our country can't read, are not proficient in reading. 69%. Think about that. That's more than 2/3. And we know a child that can't read in 3rd grade is 4 times less likely to graduate high school. And if they can't graduate high school, they're less likely to be able to hold a job. These elections are about our kids. We've got one job. One job. And what they do? When all this happened, they just shut everything down. They listened to the teachers' unions and they closed them down. So what'd you have? A rural kid in South Carolina or anywhere in this country? Both their parents had to work. He's using a screen he's never had to use before, working on a hotspot on a school bus down the street. Now assume he's in 3rd grade. What's he learning? Reading, fractions, history? We've got to help that kid. He didn't ask for that. And instead of putting transparency in schools, what are they doing? They're trying to hide things from you. They don't even want you to know what they're telling your kids. They're allowing boys to play in girls' sports. It's the girls' issue of our time, and nobody's saying anything. You're looking at the fact that they're trying to sneak in. I saw they put $500 billion. Biden and Hassan put $500 billion into community schooling. You know what that went towards? The leftist propaganda. So they're going and trying to make sure no matter what happens, they're going to teach critical race theory. So if you have a 5-year-old girl and she goes into kindergarten, if she's white, you're telling her she's bad, and if she's brown or black, you're telling her she's never going to be good enough and she's always going to be a victim. This madness has to stop. And then you go and you look at the fact that we're just a joke on the world stage. But that joke turns into missiles. That joke turns into wars if we're not careful. And it all started with that blunder in Afghanistan. Every bit of it. The idea that we left Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our friends who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that told our enemies. It told them this was the time. If ever they wanted to make a move, this is it. So China's building up their military. Russia's making their moves. Iran is threatening us. North Korea is testing ballistic missiles. My husband's in the military. But you know what we're doing? None of that. Right now they're taking gender pronoun classes. It's gotta stop. It's gotta stop. But with all of the threats we have outside the country, the one I'm most worried about is the one inside this country. The idea that everybody's saying America's bad, that we're oppressed, that we're racist. We're not racist, we're blessed. Our kids and grandkids need to know to love this country. My parents, there wasn't a day they didn't remind my brothers and sisters and me how blessed we were to live in this country. That even on our worst day, we were blessed to live in America. We have to remember that. We've got to fight for that. Everything about this country is great. When I was at the UN, they'd take me to the side. They loved the fact that we had freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do and be anything we wanted to be without government getting in the way. We have to see that. So what's happened the last 2 years has been terrible. But this is what I'll tell you. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay because sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to know where up is. And we're there. Now we got to look up and say, how do we fix it? You fix it by putting candidates in office that love America. You fix it by putting candidates in office that love America. It's that simple. Candidates don't need a PhD. They don't need to go to some Ivy League college. They don't need to have a law degree. What they need is to have some common sense and love America and be willing to fight for her. And you've got someone like Don Bolduc who understands the value of a dollar. He knows it's your money. He's not going to go off spending all the money that he's got. He's going to pull that money back. He's going to look at what's happening with crime and say, we've got to back our law enforcement again. We've got to get back to being a country of laws. He's going to put transparency back in schools. He's going to fight all this wokeness that's going on. He's going to say parents need to be back in charge. And he knows better than anybody what it takes to have a strong America. And what we need to be doing with our military is get out of the way. Quit telling them they got to get vaccinated. Quit telling them they got to take classes. Tell them to work out and get ready because we don't know what's coming next. We need them to be safe. We elect good, normal people on Tuesday. We elect good, normal people on Tuesday. And guess what they do? They get to work right away and we hold them accountable, right? Right. They can't tell us they've got to wait till 2024. No, we want the work done immediately. And you know what? Don Bolduc gets that. He gets that. Everybody's talking about all these other states and what's going to happen. And you know what I'm doing? I'm going New Hampshire. We're going to call New Hampshire. I'm telling you right now, you can sit there and focus on all those states you want, but I know that Don Bolduc is going to win New Hampshire. But this is the part that really matters. I thank you for coming tonight. I know you're going to vote, because you wouldn't come here if you weren't going to vote. But I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it really does matter. When I ran for governor the first time, there were 5 candidates. I ran against a lieutenant governor, attorney general, a state senator, everybody, and I was Nikki who, nobody knew who I was. I ran against 5 candidates, and the only reason that I won was because I went and said, I need you to go tell 10 people. And they did it. What I'm telling you is, when you go home, it's that important to America that you find 10 people. It can be family, it can be coworkers, it can be neighbors, it can be friends. And go ask them if they know where they're supposed to vote. You'd be shocked at how many people don't know where to go vote. Give them a ride if they need a ride. This is going to change the course of America. This is when we start to right the ship. And I am telling you, New Hampshire is going to be the rock star on Tuesday. New Hampshire is going to be the one everybody's talking about. And they have thrown the kitchen sink at Don Bolduc. They really have. And you know what? He just kept on moving. He kept on fighting. He has fought for you this entire time and not let up. Now it's time for us to fight for him. It's our turn now. He's done the hard work. So before I bring him up, I just want to make sure everybody, including the press in the back of the room and everybody outside of here, can hear what we're going to be focused on Tuesday. Because when I say Don, you say Don. Don. Don.